What's up, dudes? How's it going? Today, dakblake here, and today we're going to be talking about teachers' pets. And now, I just want to say that ever since second grade, I've been a teacher's pet, and I can tell you that it does improve your grade. Probably like an entire letter grade. I'm serious. I mean, it all started when I was in second grade. I would, talk with some teachers, and I just kind of changed my life around. And when I moved in second grade, I moved to a new school, and I was in a class in third grade, or like in second grade because it was half the year, and like a first grade, second grade class for like the rest of the half of the year. And I started picking up my work. I started talking to the teacher. I'm like, teacher, do you need any help? Do you need me to do this? Boo, 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 boo. And then the teachers would start, liking me. And then when they're grading stuff, they're not going to be like, oh, that kid who's nice to me, I'm going to grade him bad, because they don't want to grade the kid bad. They don't want to grade their student who thinks so much of them. They think like, oh my gosh. So I've had some teachers who I've really cared about, but I've had some teachers who I just like, I have to be teacher's pet or else I'm gonna fail. And so when I got to middle school, there in sixth grade, there was a teacher named Miss Lewis, and she was noted for being like the strictest English teacher ever. And when I got her class, I was like, nah, I'm gonna be good. And so I got into their class, and she's like this southern black lady who has like a bunch of sass. She knows a lot about English, but she wants you to know a lot about English. And if you don't learn it, you're going to fail. And it was not like fifth grade and, elementary school, you learn stuff and then you just move on. This one was like, you better do this reading or you're going to fail. And so the first like quarter, because it was a quarter system, you do 4 quarters. It was like I had a progress report before the first quarter, and I was getting a C in her class because she made you do readings, she made you do assignments, you had to do spelling, you had to do like definition words, you had to come back, you had to do flowcharts and all this stuff like for each class, and then you had to read in class out loud, participate, and if you don't, you're gonna fail. And not only that, you had to just do a bunch of stuff that not really a lot of people were used to when they joined sixth grade. And so I was getting a C in like the first part of the class, and so I was like, no, I can't do this. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna try my hardest. And so I did. I went home and I actually did the work. I would literally get home and start doing homework. And I don't do that anymore. But during that time, I would actually go home, start homework, and try to finish it so that I can do things later. So I wasn't procrastinating, and I was still getting horrible grades in that class. I was getting C's and all these assignments because she was very tough. And these tests were like very nitpicky. Like in the book, like what was the button that Tom Sawyer mentioned to Huck Finn on the first night that they went over to the farm. And it's like, what? I don't even remember reading that. And so I was getting bad grades. I was sitting in the front of the class at this point because we move around a lot. And I was sitting there, and I got to the class a little bit early. There's a lot of people there, but I got to a little bit early, and I sat there, and I looked at her, and I went, Miss Lewis? And she goes, mm-hmm. And I was like, you're like my favorite teacher. I love this class. And I was like, and then I kind of buttered it up a little bit. I was like, I just love all the readings in here. How do you pick all like such good books? And then she was like, what? Nobody's ever said that. And I was like, I like in my head, I was like, yeah, I don't mean it. But, just hearing her go, oh my gosh, nobody's ever said that before. And I was like, oh. So like, I told her like, oh yeah, this is like an amazing class. I really like learning a lot. It's really tough though. But, I got to learn it. And so she kind of, like, from that point, I can see that she looked at me in a different light. She didn't see me as some student failing and not learning the concept. She looked at a student who was trying and just not understanding it well enough. And so I would go to her and, like, some of the tests, I'd be like, hey, so, I didn't really understand this stuff. Could you go over some stuff? She goes, you know what? I don't even want to count some of those points. Maybe those were too hard and stuff. And so she started changing a little bit. She was becoming less tough. I was doing a lot better. I think by that next quarter, I was already getting a B and moving towards an A. And my essays were getting graded way easier. Like, I was doing better. And I think the way it works is, like, if you're a teacher's pet, it looks like, oh, they're grading you easier, but they're also teaching you better and kinder, because a lot of teachers have this mindset of, I'm going to teach these students, and if I don't care about them, I really don't care how they do. But when you become a teacher's pet, that teacher becomes involved in you. Like, they want you to do better. So it's kind of like a mixed match of what you think happens. It's like, it's either they're grading you better or you're actually learning kind of thing. And so I was doing a lot better in that class, and everybody else was still kind of like doing worse. I mean, that there's the occasional like super smart kid who's actually doing it without the need of the teacher, but I was doing substantially better. And so all of that, it kind of dwindles down to like the rest of my like school career, because from that point on, I saw this. I can be a teacher's pet and succeed. And so I did that with like every teacher. I can't even think of a teacher where I wasn't like super polite. And you think of it like, why not be super polite to a teacher and ask them about their day and just be kind of like, wow, how did you think of that? Blah blah blah. And just kind of like give them compliments, and then they give you a better grade. But you don't even have to look forward to the better grade. You could just give them better confidence. And so I was talking to my aunt, and she's a teacher, and she was telling me that, oh yeah, if you're a teacher's pet, I'm definitely giving you a better grade. It was just kind of like she was talking about like the attitude of students. Like if your attitude is way better, she feels way better when grading you, because it's just kind of the way people are, and you can't really control it. And you can't say, oh, that's a bad teacher, she has teacher's pets. It's like, well, that person's a nice person, and they're learning, and she enjoys teaching them. I don't know, it just happens. And so I was a teacher's pet since 6th grade, moving on. And then I got to like high school, and it was a little bit harder because a lot of the teachers are impersonal. And I talked about a teacher called like my worst teacher ever. You guys have probably seen it. It's a little more popular than my other stories, but I talked about a teacher who was just super bad, and I can kind of like relate back to this story. So this story is like just showing all the good times that I've succeeded, and with that one teacher who was just horrible, I tried to compliment him all the time. He was just super out of it. I came up with like this one line that always just stumps teachers. Like, do you think I'm a bad student? And it's like they can't say no. They can't say no, I don't think you're a bad student. And when they hear that, they think, man, this student cares. And 2, they know they're not doing so well. 3, I think I should help them. And so that worked with me in 8th grade. I had this teacher named Mr. Anderson. I was doing super bad in the class, and I said, do you think I'm a bad student? And he's like, no, you're not a bad student, blah, blah, blah. And so then my grades started picking up in there. But when I got into the high school, and let's take it back to the high school teacher, he told me I was a bad student, and he says that I'm not trying. And so I guess in all cases this is not going to work, but if you're having trouble in some classes, consider being a teacher's pet, because it's always positive. It makes the teacher feel better, and it'll make you feel better. So maybe you have a same experience like me, like you've been a teacher's pet before, or maybe you've seen some other people who have been teacher's pets. Any other way, just tell me your stories. I love to read them. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, peace out, my dudes.